Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a very simple welding project, perfect for both beginners and experienced welders. I'm going to make an industrial style storage box that can be used in the shop or at home. The beauty of this project is that you can take the basic construction methods and change it up. Dimensions and materials can be substituted based on what you have available. For this example, I am using a 10-inch by approximately 13-inch piece of 120 mild steel and 1-inch wide flat stock. I went a little over 13 inches because I didn't want to cut my sheet down anymore. I want the finished product to look raw and industrial. I want it to have an unfinished appearance. This means I need to keep grinding and cutting to a minimum. One aspect that makes this great for beginners is that the material measurements can be a little off and the finished product still looks great. I did have access to a high-powered plasma cutter for this project. If you don't have one, an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel is the next best thing. A hacksaw can also be used for cutting the flat stock since it's thinner. To measure the flat stock, I just eyeballed it against the sheet I cut earlier. Then I marked it with soapstone. I continued to use the first piece I cut to measure all the others. For the overall height of the box, I used a standard pallet board. It came in at approximately 3.5 inches. Here you can see all the pieces I cut. 4 pieces at approximately 13 inches, 4 pieces at approximately 10 inches, and 8 pieces at 3.5 inches. And then of course the bottom sheet. Again, with measurements, you don't have to be exact in this case. Next, I move on to cleaning up the pieces. I'm using an angle grinder with an abrasive flap wheel for the plate and a 2-inch die grinder with an abrasive sanding disc for the smaller pieces. I only cleaned up the edges because this is not a structural project. The mill scale on the flat stock can stay. This will save time and give the finished product a more consistent appearance. For my welding process, I am using a Millermatic 350P set up for pulse MIG welding. The wire speed is set to 400 and the arc length is set to 50. To make the sides of the box, I used 2 long pieces of the flat stock and 2 short pieces of flat stock arranged into a rectangle. You'll make 4 total rectangles, 2 of them with the 13-inch pieces and 2 of them with the 10-inch pieces. I then weld them on the interior side where you won't see the welds. I suggest either clamping your parts down or tack welding them together before welding. If you don't, the heat will draw them up and make them crooked. Now it's time to join the sides to the base. I used a right angle magnet to hold the sides in place, while I centered them with a mallet. 2 light tacks are enough to hold the parts in place. Too much heat and the pieces will draw towards each other and be crooked. Once all 4 sides are set, I welded the corners together. I ran downhill quickly with my gun pointed up into the puddle. This helps prevent drips and controls the puddle. Welding downhill also prevents burn through on thin materials, because you get less penetration. For the next step, I got pallet boards that measure about 3.5 inches in width. I used the angle grinder again to quickly remove splinters and rough edges. I then used a walking motion with the grinder to add gouges in the wood. Done correctly, it gives the wood a unique, almost hand-planed appearance. I didn't have access to a saw, so I used an abrasive cutoff wheel to cut the board down. The boards will use tension to stay put. I cut them a little long and ground them down with the angle grinder to fit. Make sure to use thick pieces of wood. Thin wood can crack during installation. At this point, the box could be considered done, but it looks a little boring and plain, so I want to add some handles. I'm using some preformed wires in this case, but there are many different ways to dress up your project. Finally, to protect the metal from rusting and clean it, I liberally applied WD-40 and wiped it down with a rag. A dirty rag is preferred so it adds a grunge effect to the wood. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I would also love to hear your thoughts, so don't forget to leave a comment as well. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.